Okay, well, back in whenever the Dead Space remake trailer came out, I said that you and I were going to sit down and talk about it. And so now we're going to talk about it. But there's another trailer that just got dropped for another fucking remake. Yeah. So Resident Evil 4, it's official. It's not a rumor anymore. They're remaking it for sure.
I don't understand.
Well,
just make a new game.
They did. It was called Village, and that game ripped off a lot of Resident Evil 4's ideas. So apparently Resident Evil 4 is the only Resident Evil game now. So you haven't seen the trailer though, right?
Nope.
Well, let's watch it, and I will get your reaction from that once we finished it. So we'll go ahead and start this up, and I shall stream it to you.
I've located Baby Eagle. Guess you, me, picked the wrongest spot to vacation, eh?
You will receive our most sacred body. It begins now.
If I could just forget what happened that night. The pain. Even for a second. This time, it can be different. It has to.
I'm conflicted here.
Okay.
Visually, it looks great.
Oh yeah.
But I'm just caught up on the why are we doing Resident Evil 4 again?
Well, okay. I think it's safe to say, like, okay, because we're going to talk about Dead Space here too. I think it's safe to say that you're a bigger fan of Dead Space than I am, and I'm probably a bigger fan of Resident Evil than you are. Is that
absolutely
fair to say?
I would agree with that. I would agree with that, yeah.
Okay. Resident Evil 4 is like one of my all-time favorites. Like, if I had to put together like the perfect tag team, Resident Evil 4 is like the big dog's biscuit for me.
Okay.
And seeing that this is being remade doesn't make me angry, which is probably what you expected. You probably expect me to be angry about it. It doesn't make me hyped. It makes me sad. I'm actually genuinely kind of depressed this is getting remade. That's where I'm at.
Jeez. I mean, I already kind of said how I feel about it. Just make a new game. Just make a new game with the Leon that we got from RE2 Remake. Make a new game. What's so hard about that?
You're talking about like making like a sequel to Village with Leon coming back?
Yeah, but just do that.
Well, and the thing that's interesting about this, because the Resident Evil 2 remake was fantastic. It was really
great.
Good. And nobody really seemed to... I mean, I wasn't upset when that game was announced as a remake. I was like, oh, okay, that'll be cool. And even 3, even though I don't think either one of us really cared for 3, I mean, it was like, okay, whatever. But 4 is a whole nother ballgame in my mind. Because part of it is that it's like, Resident Evil 4 is still readily accessible. It's not like a completely horribly outdated game on ancient technology like the 2 and 3 are. You know.
Yeah, and that's how I was with 2. 2 was before my sort of time as a person who plays video games who could actually understand how to play the game. Mm-hmm. Whereas Resident Evil 4 was right around the sweet spot where I was sort of understanding how to do stuff without looking everything up. because I don't know how old I was. Resident Evil 4 came out in what year again?
2005.
2005. That was, 17 years ago.
9? You were like 9, I think?
It was like 9 or 8, yeah. So right around the age where you start trying to actually, figure stuff out on your own without needing to have your hand held. So I was like, this game's pretty fun. Still kick my ass, but I feel like the game for me that was sort of my introduction into survival horror was Dead Space. Because that was, what, 2008, 2009?
2008, yeah.
2008, so...
You were 12, I think?
Yeah, probably too young to be playing that game.
Too young to be playing Dead Space, yeah.
But again, I was a lot better at playing video games at that point, and I could actually... For me, I feel like Dead Space, to me, was what Resident Evil 4 is for a lot of other people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, just because of the age group. And the funny thing is that Dead Space only exists because of Resident Evil 4.
And you can tell when you play those games, there's a lot of inspiration taken. Yeah, to say
definitely. I know that Visceral, when they pitched the game, they were like, it's like Resident Evil but in space, or Resident Evil 4 but in space, and EA was like, oh, okay. So
and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, because it's like Dead Space definitely solidified its own identity. It's not like a carbon copy of it, but you can clearly see the influence of it.
Yeah, and that's good. I like seeing that. Let's take good ideas and do something different with it.
Yeah, imagine that. Now, and this is, like I said, this just makes me sad because what are you going to improve upon with Resident Evil 4? It's a near perfect game. There's not a lot wrong with it. It's like, of course, you'd be like, oh, the graphics or whatever. It's like, I don't give a shit about that if your game is bad. Good graphics does not equal good gameplay. No. And Resident Evil 4 still holds up. It's still good. It's not like Resident Evil 2 where it's horribly outdated and you can't even really get a hold of it anymore. Resident Evil 4 is a slut. It's been ported to more platforms than Skyrim has, to put that in perspective.
Is it on the Switch yet?
It is on the Switch, yes. I have it on the Switch. I have bought Resident Evil 4 more times than I've bought any other fucking game. I think I have like 9 copies of that game, either digitally or physically.
You have me beat for Skyrim then.
Well, let's see. I've got it for the GameCube. I've got it for the PS2. I have it for the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the Switch, and the PC. So maybe not quite 9, but getting close. And like I said, my biggest frustration is that it's like there's not much you can do to fix it. So the only thing, to my mind, that you can do to justify remaking this is to completely change everything about it. And at that point, it's like, then just make a new game.
Well, and based on what we saw from the trailer, it just looks like they're taking the exact same story and setting and just putting a fresh coat of paint on it.
Well, I'll say this, watching that trailer, I mean, first of all, the trailer doesn't tell you fuck all, aside from this is like a Resident Evil 4 remake. That's all it tells you. But tonally speaking, it's obviously going to be very different, because the original was a little campy. It was very schlocky, it was campy, it was cheesy. Like, it had a real sense of humor to it. That's not in this. It's not going to be in this at all. And to remove, if you're going to remove that and you're going to take it more seriously, that means you're going to have to cut a metric fuck ton of the content of the game out, because there's stuff that is just going to be a tonal clash. Think about like the castle, how there's a giant lava pit at the bottom of a castle in Europe, and there's like these stone dragons that drop down and start breathing fire on you. Yeah, how the fuck are you going to do that in like a more realistic, serious tone?
I was getting ready to say, how about the giant statue that chases you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, what are you going to have this heart-gripping moment between like Leon and Ashley, and then 5 seconds later he's trying to outrun a giant statue? Like, no, it's like a lot of what made Resident Evil 4 what it was that it was cheesy as fuck, and it embraced that. It never tried to get you to take it that seriously. And that's why to date, it's still like top 3 best Resident Evil games in my mind. 2, 4, and 7. Those are the 3 best ones. I don't know how to feel about it. The frustrating thing is that I know I'm part of the problem, because it's like, well, are you going to buy it? It's like, I mean, yeah. Of course I'm going to fucking buy it. It's like, why wouldn't I want to see what they're going to do with it? I mean, here's what I think, Ken. Let me break this down for you. This is what they should do with it. So, much like the Resident Evil 2 remake, use the original as a blueprint to make a completely different experience, right? So, Resident Evil 4 is, some people call it survival horror. I don't think it's survival horror. It's action horror. There are survival elements to it, sure, but it's more of an action game than a survival game, right?
Absolutely agreed.
So really, really double down on it being a survival horror game and actually rein back on the action and push the horror to the forefront even more. That's one thing I would do. The second thing I would do is you have Village, Castle, Island. Those are the 3 areas of the original game. Turn those into a more classic style Resident Evil level. So instead of it being linear like the original game, it's more open-ended, and you have to explore it like the police department or the mansion. Build them like that. where you're having to constantly, go around and like find alternate routes. You're having to strategize with your map on how you want to get from point A to point B. It's like that alone, if they were to do that, completely redoes what Resident Evil 4 did in the first place. And you're not making a carbon copy of what it was. It's like stuff like that I think you could do to justify remaking it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I feel like all they're really gonna do is it's obviously the newest Resident Evil engine. I'm not sure which one they're using it, so it looks great. I just don't know how that's gonna, if they try to make a carbon copy of Resident Evil 4, which is, like you said, it's an action game, does that really work in that engine that well?
Sure, Village did it.
Well, I mean, that's first, I don't know, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about here, but I just feel like if they're going from Resident Evil 2 remake to Resident Evil 4 remake with, I don't know. Maybe I'm not making sense here.
No, I think you could easily make an action game with that. Devil May Cry runs on that engine. DMC5 does. Yeah, you could easily make an action game out of it. I don't think the tech is the issue. To my mind, it's just like, I'm just thinking of it from a creative perspective. Like, if you're gonna remake, I mean, Resident Evil 4 is not just any Resident Evil game. That's a linchpin of gaming history. That's like a cornerstone that completely reinvented the wheel on how third-person shooters are made. This is like remaking Jaws to me. Like, why? You're never going to beat the original. It's not possible to. So it's like, don't try. Take it as a blueprint and do something wildly different. Like, I was thinking about this earlier today because I was working, so I had nothing to do. What if in the castle, for example, you know how every modern Resident Evil game has had a hunter type of character? 7 you had Jack, 2 was Mr. X, 3 was Nemesis, and then in Village was Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah.
What if in the castle you did that with Verdugo, Salazar's right hand?
That'd be pretty terrifying.
That would be fucking great if they did that. Oh my god. Like, that's the thing, is that there is so much potential if you're gonna do a remake. But you have to not be afraid to completely change it, which is, I don't know if they're gonna do. They did that with Resident Evil 2, I would argue, that they actually basically just use the original as a blueprint to craft a completely different type of game out of it. I mean, because if you play 2, the original back to back, with the original and the remake, they're basically nothing alike. I mean, you certainly have the similarities, but it did it right. And you can do that with 4. I mean, because there's no point in having, it's just like, oh, why are you redoing it? Why are you redoing it? There's no point in redoing it. Well, they're fucking doing it. There's no point in even talking about, like, why. I wouldn't do it, but I'm also a jaded, cynical 58-year-old man.
That's true. You are very old.
And I'm a big grown-up man baby that just doesn't want my toys to be fucked with, But I think, here's the thing. The Resident Evil 4 remake is probably going to be really good. I just don't think that there's a point to it. I just wish that they wouldn't. And it's... I
agree. If you're going to do something like this, just do something new.
Yeah, just do something completely new. Just come up with original ideas. And I mean, make new IPs. I mean, why do we need 8 billion Resident Evil sequels? I mean, since 2017, this is the 5th one. The 5th one. It's like...
That's crazy.
That's insane.
About it, yeah.
And I bet you anything that COVID actually slowed this down, and that Resident Evil 4 was probably going to come out this year originally. Annualize it. 1 a year.
Oh, God, we're going back to the Call of Duty model for Resident Evil.
2019, 2020, and 2021. We got a Resident Evil game every year. Think about it. I bet you anything that's what they're trying to do.
Not all of them were S-tier games.
No, the 3 remake definitely wasn't. It was very mediocre and forgettable, and half of Village I thought was good. Half of it I was like, this is kind of dumb. I think it was a sloppy mess.
I always go back to your summary of 3, like, that was fun, and then you just never play it again.
Yeah, that's basically what I always say about 3, is that you'll play it and you'll be like, oh, that's neat, and then you'll never think about it again. It's
an afternoon / an evening of your time.
Yeah, basically. I mean, you can finish it on the hardest difficulty on your first run in like 4 to 5 hours. It's like, yeah, it's whatever. I don't really have anything to say about the 3 remake because there's no point in talking about it. But I don't know. This is just kind of sad to me overall. I will say this though, I'm sure it'll be good. I am gonna play it, but now that my wrist is healed up quite a bit, they basically forced my hand. I have to finish my playthrough of Resident Evil 4 on my channel now.
You don't have a...
I don't have a choice. Yeah, my hand has been forced, so it's like I have to do that now. It's the same thing with like Dead Space when that remake was announced. I was like, well, I guess I'm doing a playthrough of that, and I did the first 2 games. I'll do 3 eventually, but and that I don't know. I don't even know what to say. It's just annoying. Here's something interesting though, Ken. This is something really interesting.
Okay.
What other game comes out in March of 2023?
Is that when the Dead Space remake comes out?
That's when Dead Space comes out.
Oh my god.
So, EA, I know that you guys don't really have too many brain cells.
I keep firing them.
You should probably replace or like delay Dead Space by like 2 months. You should probably do that because you're about to get into a boxing ring with Resident Evil 4 and you're going to just walk away with a bruised ego and a lot of missing teeth.
It's like
Don't
fighting Mike Tyson.
fucking
It's like
do
fighting
it.
Mike Tyson with two of your hands broken.
Oh, yeah. It's like, dude, don't... That's one thing I'm really concerned with if EA does not delay that Dead Space remake. Because, look, we'll get into the Dead Space remake now. I'm not happy that they're making a remake of it, but at least Dead Space is coming back, finally. I mean, it's been dead for 9 years. By the time that it comes out, it'll have been a decade since the last one. And it's like, this is what'll fucking happen. If they try to compete with Resident Evil 4, they're going to lose. Dead Space is good, but it's no Resident Evil 4.
No,
It's,
absolutely not.
You know, and it's like then what will happen is that it won't do well because it's competing with a heavyweight champion of horror games. And then EA is going to be like, well, it didn't sell well. I guess people just don't want it. It's like, no, EA, you fucking caused this. You caused it by trying to compete with somebody you couldn't compete against. Delay the fucking thing. Delay it. Just 2 more months. It's not going to hurt you. Sorry, it's not going to meet your quarterly income projections for that fiscal quarter right there. Sorry. But it's like you'll give your devs 2 more months to keep working on it, iron anything out. It's the fucking Frostbite engine. It's filled with razor blades, as a BioWare dev once referred to it as. And then you don't have to compete with fucking Resident Evil 4. So now that I got that out of my system, I'm sure you probably didn't even think of that, did you, Ken?
I didn't know because I didn't put 2 and 2 together until just now. I'm basically how you feel. Like we don't need to remake Dead Space. Just give us a new game in that either give us a new story in that universe who's completely unrelated to everything we've already seen before, but just a new protagonist, new setting. Still have the Necromorphs because that's the whole Dead Space thing. Or hear me out, crazy idea. Continue Isaac's story.
Yeah, make Dead Space 4. You know, the thing that you guys teased at the end of Dead Space 3's DLC, and then it just never fucking happened because EA killed it off. Maybe do that.
And there are criticisms of Dead Space 3 that I do recognize. People are like, well, it departed from the horror game. Like, well, is Dead Space really a horror game? Really? Is it, though?
It is. I mean, I understand what people are talking about, but I'll say this. I actually do dig Dead Space 3. I'm with you on this. I think it's a game that's been unfairly maligned, even though the criticisms of it are warranted. But Dead Space 3 got everything right that Resident Evil 5 got wrong.
I agree. It's the co-op game that you play with a buddy because it's stupid fun.
Yeah, it's actually a really, really solid game. I mean, it has its problems, sure, but if you're going to take a single-player horror experience and you're going to make it a more co-op action game, that's the way to do it. I think Visceral did the best they could with what they had to work with. But
yeah,
like,
I just
go ahead.
You're never gonna get scared in a co-op game, at least because it breaks the immersion.
Yeah,
when you're playing with a friend.
Yeah, when you're playing with a friend, it's kind of hard to be scared because you have a constant reminder of the real world. Number one, and number two, one of the most important factors for horror to work is the feeling of isolation and vulnerability. Well, you don't have that when you have double the fucking firepower.
Yeah, no kidding. And the first 2 games did a fantastic job of the isolation aspect.
Yeah, definitely. 2 in particular. I think 2 is my favorite out of the 3 Dead Space games. I think the first one's yours, right?
I just have I have a soft spot for that game. I understand that it's not a lot of people's favorite, just because I mean Dead Space 2 I will agree is probably a better game, not just mechanically, but probably just it works better. But for me, Dead Space just scratches a unique itch for the thing in space, and I love that.
Well, it's also the one that kind of popped your cherry.
It did. So I have absolutely 100% nostalgia for it. So that definitely plays heavily into its factor, and for me, it introduced me to a wide variety of other media. I hadn't actually watched the thing up until that point. I was like, well, this is really cool. My dad made an offhand comment. That reminds me of this movie I saw in the 80s. You know,
it's funny that you say that, because John Carpenter's The Thing is inarguably one of the best horror movies ever. It's fucking incredible.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, yeah. It's easily one of my favorites as well. Did you know that John Carpenter is a big fan of video games?
Did not know that, actually.
He's also a big fan of Dead Space.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, I can't imagine why. He actually was trying to get a Dead Space movie made at one point. That's so fucking depressing, isn't it?
If he was behind it, I'd be like, hell yeah. But if someone else is doing it, it would have been.
Yeah, he wanted to direct it. He was like, yeah, I want to direct a Dead Space movie. He wanted to do it, and it just never happened. And now it's like he's retired from filmmaking. He's a musician now. I'm surprised that fucker's still alive. But I was like, dude, that's so heartbreaking to hear that John Carpenter almost had the shot to direct Dead Space, because he would have nailed it. It would have it would have been the only good video game movie ever created. It would have been great.
The Sonic movie exists.
Oh yeah, I love me a good dose of mediocrity in the morning. So have you paid attention to anything that's come out about the Dead Space remake?
I've literally only watched the initial announcement trailer for it when it first came out.
The thing that just said, this is a video game that we are making, and we're going to tell you precisely fuck all outside of that. You mean that trailer?
Yeah, because I don't like watching trailers because I don't like spoiling myself for a game. I like going in completely as blind as I possibly can, so I can get the full experience.
Yeah, the trailers either tell you absolutely everything or tell you precisely nothing, but in the annoying way where it's like, yep, this is a video game that we are making. It's like, fucking cool. Okay, you gonna show me some gameplay?
This could have been an email is how I felt about that.
Yeah, exactly. But they have released some footage, like showing some enhancements and stuff that they're doing with it, and I'm going to predict with this remake, it will be a carbon copy of the original with tweaks to the gameplay to improve that. You know, it'll be a little less clunky. They'll probably change the zero-G. I do know that Isaac has a voice in this one. He's actually going to have dialogue. Big improvement over the first one, because that's always been my number one criticism of it. And then they might add some of the cut content that Visceral didn't have time to implement in the original, and I think that's all they're going to do. I think that's it. It's just going to be basically a technologically better version of Dead Space with a few things fixed, and that's it. The reason I say that is because everything I've seen is them bragging about the tech.
That's just great. So
yeah,
okay.
That's all it's going to be. It's just like smart games don't brag about their technology. They don't do that. I mean, there was one point where I really realized it's like, this is just going to be the same game again, which was the guy was talking about how, like, when Isaac comes out of being out in space, right, and he comes back in and the vacuum has to seal back up. It's like, you know, you can really like hear that he's like gasping for breath, and you know, he feels relieved when he gets oxygen again. I'm like, smart games don't brag about shit like that. There was never a point in time when I was playing the original Dead Space to be like, you know, this game's all right, but Isaac's breathing just isn't realistic enough. There was never a point that I fucking said that. It never even dawned on me that that was in the game until this guy pointed it out. And it's like,
you're trying to tell me that you never took a break from killing space zombies with your mining tool. Like, this isn't realistic.
Yeah,
I'm offended.
I can't believe that they didn't get the breathing spot on the way they should have. I never noticed it. It's the same thing as like when you hear Darth Vader talking Star Wars, but you still hear the it's like that happens in those movies. It took me forever to even notice that was happening. It's like, how are you breathing and talking at the same time? But it's like in Dead Space, I never even noticed it. It's like, why are you pointing this out? Why are you pointing this out? And then I know that like they showed off like the sound effect for the plasma cutter and like what it looks like and everything. And some fans had some criticism for the way that it sounded, because apparently it just didn't sound right. And they're like, don't worry guys, we fixed it. We listened to you. It's just like, this is what we're focusing on, is a sound effect. Are you fucking kidding me? That's why I say it's like, it's going to be a carbon copy of the original. I mean, even the screenshots I've seen, I'm like, yep, I know exactly where that is. I know what that is. I know where that is.
So it's just, it's a shameless remake. It's not even a remake, it's a remaster at this point.
I mean, yeah, you're basically just making the exact same thing in a different engine. It's what it looks like to me. I could be wrong. But again, it's like there's things you could do with a remake of Dead Space that could be interesting. Now there's rumors that Silent Hill might be making a comeback too, and I'm just like, oh no. Oh no. It's like, look, I appreciate that Resident Evil stopped their fucking nonsense with Resident Evil 6, and they went back to their roots, and Resident Evil 7 has revived horror in the AAA space, because something that a lot of people don't seem to know or understand, horror was killed off. It was dead in AAA. You'd occasionally get something like The Evil Within, or you might get like Alien Isolation, but all the big franchises were gone. Resident Evil wasn't even horror anymore. It was action. Silent Hill was a fucking joke. And then Dead Space stopped being horror with 3 and was killed off. Like, horror was gone, dude. And Resident Evil fucking revived it. And now that they've revived it, Capcom busted their ass, bringing it back. Now EA wants a slice of that pie. And that's what pisses me off, is like, the original developers that busted their ass on this got fucked over. And now that some other publisher has put in all the legwork to bring this back, now you want some of it, EA? Go fuck yourself. Like, we all know EA is awful, but come on, man. Like, that's so disheartening to me. I feel bad for the original developers, because they did not deserve to get killed off.
To continue on to the pile driving for EA, every decision that they make is motivated by money, which is... Yeah, they're a corporation, Ken, but yeah, but it's obvious that every decision they make is motivated by money.
Yeah, they're not even good at hiding it.
Other developers can at least say, we're doing this because this is what we believe in our art, and you can maybe sort of delude yourself into thinking that's true, but with EA, it's so blatantly obvious that everything is a cash grab.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at these modern Resident Evil games, it's like, dude, serious effort is put into them, with the exception of the 3 remake. No, serious effort is genuinely put into them. Whether I like it all the time or not is irrelevant. It's like, no, they're really busting their asses on these Resident Evil games, and they are quality. They're not shitty. They're not buggy. They're not complete disasters. They're good enough. But it's like, it's like with them, it's like Capcom is actually doing things as good as you can right now. With the exception of, I think they're remaking shit too much, but when was the last time you heard about a Capcom game coming out and people being pissed off about it?
That's a good question.
It's been a while. I mean, I think that they got like
completely
new management, but with EA, it's the same. It's the same CEO that killed off Dead Space is the same CEO that's still there. It's the same fucking guy. It's Andrew Wilson. He's still doing it. So it's like, he's only doing it because Resident Evil proved that it can work. So he's like, sure, fine, whatever. Maybe this will get us some good PR. Guarantee you that's the attitude behind it. And they were very quick to say, oh, there's no microtransactions. It's like, if you have
to say that,
like, you got a problem, Oh my god.
I'm sure they wanted to put them in, they just couldn't figure out how to do it.
I think there was microtransactions in the original, though. That's what's funny about it.
In 1? I don't...
Only on the console versions, though.
I know in 2 they had suits that you could... And you could also buy, like, these keys that let you into special rooms. I don't know about 1, though.
Oh, there definitely
I can't
wasn't
remember.
one.
I can't remember.
I don't know if they were... I think that they might have just been, like, weapon packs and skin packs and stuff like that, but there was definitely microtransactions in the original. There was microtransactions in 2, and there was a fuckload of microtransactions in 3. In 3, it was pay to win.
In 3, it was way more in your face, too, because it was accessible while you were playing in your save file.
Yeah, that's when... conveniently, that's also the same year that Andrew Wilson took over as CEO. Surprise, surprise. And Visceral had no...
How do we monetize fun?
Huh?
How do we monetize fun?
Yeah, exactly. That's EA's motto. That's their company motto. How do we monetize fun? And it's like, I know that, here's the thing, we're both being really cynical and Debbie Downers. It's hard not to be. And it's like, I think the industry has finally won. I think they finally beat it out of me. It's like, I just don't have any fight left. It's like, whatever. It's like, I mean, half the problem is the audience. The audience has spoken. I mean, with like Resident Evil, for example, I remember when Resident Evil 3 was first announced, I remember making a video just being like, you people need to pop those fucking hype balloons and calm down. And there was people just like, oh, remake the remake of Resident Evil 1, remake this game, remake... Like, this is what people want. That's why it's getting made. And I'm part of the problem, too, because I know I'm going to fucking buy both of these games. I'm going to buy them.
Yeah, so am I.
I mean, yeah, so it's like I'm being a fucking hypocrite, and I'm aware of it, but...
I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, I'm not happy that I'm a hypocrite, but it's like, yeah, I want to play them. I want... That's the thing, is that I want Dead Space to come back. I want it to succeed. I want there to be more of it, and so I have to vote with my wallet on that, but I don't want to vote for a fucking remake. That's where I'm at. It's like, I want more Resident Evil, I want horror to make its comeback, but I don't want more fucking remakes. I want new stuff. It's like, again, I didn't like Half a Village, but it's like, I at least appreciated the stuff that they did with it, even if I didn't like it all the time. It's like, okay, fine.
They're doing something new.
Yeah, at least you were doing something new with it, even if you were lifting half your ideas from Resident Evil 4. It's like, it's like the dollhouse, for example. Holy shit. That dollhouse is the best part of the game. It's fucking terrifying. It's one of the best experiences I've ever seen in a horror game. I loved it. So it's like, I got that out of it. So, I mean, I'm assuming you're probably going to get both these games too.
Yeah, as much as I'm dogging on the Dead Space remake, I'm absolutely going to buy it shamelessly.
Yeah. Because again, it's like you have to vote with your wallet here. It's just like, well, fuck you, EA, for just killing off the devs and remaking it. But if you don't buy it, then you're sending them a very loud and clear message that
you don't want single-player games.
You don't want single-player games. You don't want horror games. No, you don't want that. It's like the industry, this is what they do to you. They put you between a rock and a hard place where it's like no matter what you do, you're fucked. It doesn't matter what your choice is anymore. And like I said, the majority of the gaming audience is spoken. All they want is the same shit they've already had, but just make it look prettier. That's what people want. I mean, fortunately, we have indie games. This is where you got people like Daniel Mullins with Inscription. I cannot wait to see what his next game is. Because if he has a Kickstarter project, it's like, shut up and take my money, dude. I don't know what you're going to produce, but it's going to be fucking weird. And I'm going to buy it.
It's going to be weird and good.
It's going to be weird and good. All 3 of his games, I've played through all 3 of them, loved all 3 of them, and they're nothing like each other. Like, he's incredibly creative. You got people like Lucas Pope. You got Toby Fox, the guy that made Undertale, is working on another game. It's like a pseudo-sequel to Undertale. Really
cool.
looking forward to that. You know?
I need to play Undertale. Haven't played it.
Oh, it's not a game I talk about often because I don't want to spoil it, but it's one of the best games I've ever played. I love Undertale.
That seems to be the consensus with people who have played it, and they just said, shut up and play it. Don't look up anything, just shut up and play it.
Yeah, just shut up and play it from start to finish. And here's the thing, when you finish it, you're going to want to play it again. Instantly. Because it's got a trick up its sleeve.
Yeah, that's what I've been told about. I haven't been spoiled on what it is. Like, you're gonna finish the game in your first playthrough, and I'm like, crap, I need to play it again right now.
Yes, exactly. It's got several tricks up its sleeve, and if you're paying attention to it, it's actually surprising how intelligent that game is. I mean, yeah, that's the thing, is that, like, it's funny whenever I talk about, oh, you know, I really like indie games, people are like, oh, you're just one of those pretentious arty-farty types. I'm like, no, I like new ideas. I like originality. I'm tired of being fed reboots and sequels and remakes at every fucking turn, which is all the AAA industry is capable of doing. I always laugh at people that bitch about Hollywood and it's like, all they do is just make sequels and they just reboot and they just remake. And then
because it works.
They play video games and buy right into that same fucking thing. It's like, there's no difference between the AAA industry and Hollywood in my mind. There's no fucking difference.
The same people that complain about Hollywood doing that are the ones who are buying that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
you're voting with your wallet.
Yeah, it's like, dude, it's just like, yeah, well, Star Wars sucks so bad. Then it's like, then stop fucking buying it. Yeah, Star Wars is shit now. It's been a joke for a while. But then, oh, well, they announced that new Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Let me go get my Disney Plus subscription. It's like, what are you doing, man? It's like, and then you have people that like go to that Star Wars celebration every year. These grown adults that sit there and cry over trailers like they're children. It's like, I don't understand it, dude. I really don't. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like, I don't know, man. I'm just frustrated. I think I'm just done. Like I said, I think the industry has finally beaten it out of me. I think they won. They finally beat me.
They had the deep enough pockets to outlast you.
They did. They have the high ground. Standing on top of their pile of fucking money. I mean, and it's like, look, it's not like I'm not disillusioned enough to think that it's like, well, if I don't buy this game, if I don't take a stance now, then, you know, I'll change everything. It's just like, no. I'm one fucking guy and nobody cares what I think, which is perfectly fine. I don't even care about what I think half the time.
You're just disappointed?
Yeah, I'm just disappointed. It's like, this is where we wound up, and there's nothing that we can do to stop it. Because it's like, well, you know, the public can stop it, vote with your wallet, and they have voted with their wallet, and they're going to continue to vote with their wallet. It's like, whatever. Sure, I'll play the remakes. I'll play both of them. Probably bitch to high heaven about both of them. And then I'll move on with my life. It'll be that simple. I mean, because that's the big thing, is that I don't like getting wrapped up in outrage. That's a big thing for me, is like Cyberpunk, for example. Like, people are still pissed off about that. I'm like, get the fuck over it, move on with your life. Like, you made your decision to buy it, you pre-ordered that shit, suffer the consequences and move on with your life. I don't care. Like, you did it to yourself. You know, I will say that it's like, while I am gonna buy these games, I'm not pre-ordering them. I don't fucking pre-order games. And if I hear even a peep about either one of them being broken, buggy messes, hands are off immediately. Not touching them. Like, you need to at least give me a product that you finished before I'm going to give you any money for it, you know?
Wholeheartedly agreed, and I wish I had the same principle when I bought Elden Ring.
Really?
So here's the thing. I do like that game. I recommend it to people who like Souls games, but as a PC release, I cannot recommend spending any money on it.
Yeah.
At all. Which, I mean, so if you're gonna buy it on a console.
Yeah, I bought that game, I think about 3 weeks after it launched or so, somewhere around there, and refunded it with 33 minutes of playtime because the game crashed 4 times. I never even made it out of the starting room. I was like, well, not playing this game, I guess.
Yeah, which is a
Whatever.
shame because once you get out of there are other areas where it crashes uncontrollably.
Oh, okay. And it's funny because some people said that it ran flawlessly, and then other people say it's broken. So I'm like, okay, well, either the people that say it runs flawlessly are liars, or it's the Denuvi anti-cheat. It's got to be the anti-cheat that's in the game.
So
that's what I'm thinking.
It also just depends on your own mileage, because sometimes I would go 60 hours and have no problems at all, and then I'd have a string of 15 minutes the game crashes 7 times.
Huh.
So it's just, for me, it's just the game is so hilariously unstable that it's just like, I could understand if this was their first time developing a game for a PC release.
No, it's definitely not, though.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Dark Souls,
software.
which is the blueprint for Elden Ring, sue me, came out 11 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Elden Ring is Dark Souls with the open world.
It's just more Dark Souls, and I will happily buy $60 Dark Souls every time it comes out. I will never do it. I'm part of the problem. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's not like it's some first-time developer doesn't know how to work with the new interface. They've been doing this for 11 years, and they still can't get the release right, because either they haven't bothered to learn or they don't care, and I don't know which one's worse.
I don't think they care. Because Japanese game developers oftentimes don't really give a shit about PCs. I don't know what it is with Japan.
Yeah, and it's just because you look at, I was bitching to another friend of ours, Jonathan, about how awful the default key bindings are. I was like, well, just change them. Like, I wish I could. You can only change a certain amount of the key bindings. Some of the key bindings are hard-coded, and you can't change them.
Oh, so fuck you, use a controller.
It's the whole point. It's a game built for a controller, so use a controller, which I did. But if you're gonna release a game on a platform, you should be able to use the default input for that platform and have, whatever degree of control that other games offer. So, I mean, I don't know. Just an example out of this is the map button is hard bound to the M key. Okay, fine, whatever. But in order to close the map, press a different button. Well, which button? I don't know. Figure it out.
Really?
It doesn't tell you what button to press.
Is it not just M again?
Nope.
That's weird.
I don't remember what key it is because it doesn't tell you.
You know, it seems in a lot of ways like that's specifically a From Software issue, because like Platinum, they ported Bayonetta to PC in like 2017, I think, and they, fully rebind all the keys however you want them. That's not an issue with them. Capcom doesn't have this issue. That seems like it's a From Software thing. They just don't seem like they give a fuck.
Which is annoying, and the game's capped at 60. So if you have a monitor that can support it, fuck you.
It's capped at 60 frames or 60 hertz?
I don't know if FromSoft knows the difference.
Oh my god.
It's and I would struggle to keep 60 with a 3070.
Oh my god. Yeah.
The game is just not optimized well, but it's still really fun. So if you like Dark Souls, you'll like Elden Ring probably. But don't play it on PC.
So
play
point
it on
is,
literally other platform that's available on.
Yeah, point is, don't pre-order your fucking game. Stop doing that, because these companies prey on that shit and they know you're gonna do it. I can't even remember the last time I pre-ordered a game. I will say this though, I've never bought a game that was broken. I don't think I have in my entire life ever played a game that was broken, because I don't fucking spend money on it before I hear something about it, and I don't pay attention to like any of the major news outlets, because like IGN and all those other places were giving Cyberpunk like a 9 or a 10 across the fucking board. And it's just like, and then you look at like actual user reviews, it's like, this game is a complete mess. So you can't trust them at all. So really the best place to go is honestly just Steam user reviews and just scroll through and just be like, okay, why is this negative? Because you can always tell if somebody's just bitching because they're idiots or they're children, or if they're bitching because it's like, this game has serious performance issues. And it's like, if you see that a bunch, it's like, stay away from it. Just stay away from it for like 2 months and wait for the developers to get off their ass and patch the fucking thing. Here's the thing, the Resident Evil 4 remake will not have bugs. I'm going to say that right now, because none of the modern Resident Evil games have had any technical issues, at least to the best of my knowledge.
Well, you had issues with Village, but I don't think it was because of the game. I think it was, you said it was because of your PC, right?
I really think it was my GPU just couldn't handle it, and it was starting to go out, because what the game would do is that it would like freeze for 1 minute, like solid, the music would keep going and everything, but the game wouldn't fully crash. It would just take like a minute, and then it would kick back in, no problem. It was the weirdest thing. I've never seen a game do that before. With the 3060 I have now, oh my god, does that game run beautifully. So I really think that was just my GPU.
Okay.
Just not able to handle how fucking demanding the village can be at times. I also had really, really bad frame drops in a couple areas in the castle, especially specifically when I was fighting one of the daughters. Like, oh, my frames just went to like 15 in that one room specifically. 3060, no problem with that. So I was like, okay, I don't think it was the game. I think it was the GPU that was causing that. Yeah, and then 2, 3, and 7, I've yet to have seen a single fucking bug in any of them. So I don't think 4 is going to be broken. Dead Space, though, not so confident. Yeah, not so confident with that one. Although the devs have had quite a bit of time with it. Like I said, Isaac is going to be fully voiced, and it is Gunnar Wright coming back to reprise his role.
Oh, thank God.
So there is at least that.
That is Isaac Clarke to me.
Yeah, he is Isaac. I don't know about any of the other actors, though, but here's another big question. It's like, well, now you have to write entirely new dialogue. Who's writing it? That's a big question for me.
They didn't release that info, who's writing?
Maybe they have, and I haven't seen it, but like the original Dead Space, really all 3 of the Dead Space games, one of the things that made them work really well is the dialogue is extremely well written, and the voice acting was very good. The characters always felt real and believable. That's a lot of what made Dead Space work, and it's like, you better have a writer that's going to be able to be convincing like that. It's like, I know the actors can do it. I mean, especially if you're getting Gunnar Wright back, he's great. So it's like, I don't know who that new writer is, but I'll say this, though. The guy that wrote Resident Evil Village also wrote Dead Space. So it's... Everything's connected, Ken. Everything's always intertwined.
Everything is connected.
Everything's connected. It's a cycle of bullshit that we are forced to eat every single day of our lives. And I'm miserable, and I'm tired, and I'm not drunk, and I wish I was drunk. I wish I was drunk, Ken. This is why I drink. This is what the industry does to me. Oh, Lord have mercy.
It sucks all the life and joy out of you.
It really does. I mean,
and it charges you for the privilege.
Yeah, and it charges you for the privilege to do that. Yeah, it's frustrating, but I don't know. We'll just have to... Ultimately, this discussion is pointless, depending on the game's quality. If they're fantastic, we're going to look like total jackasses. And if they're terrible, then we can be like, well, we were right, fuck you. So, we're either going to be pretentious, or we're going to have a bunch of egg on our face. Take your pick.
I'm okay with either, to be honest.
I'm okay with either. Because here's the thing. Believe me, I would love to be proved wrong.
Yeah, me too. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the case. I think that the Resident Evil 4 remake, the 4 remake will be fine. And the Dead Space remake will also be fine. But I don't want fine. I want good games. And it's like, you could do really good remakes here as long as you completely reinvent them. But I don't know. With Resident Evil 4, I think that's a possibility because Capcom's not fucking lazy like EA is. EA, I can just see them being like, oh, just do that again. Make that again. What, is that original thought you just had? Stomp, stomp, stomp. Like, no originality here. We want the things that are guaranteed to sell, and people... I mean, nostalgia's the new drug, Ken. In the 80s, it was cocaine. In the 2020s, it's nostalgia. That's what sells.
I'm not hopeful, but maybe we'll be wrong, right?
Well, one can only hope. That would be the ideal situation. The unfortunate thing is that I'm never wrong. Just ask me, I'll tell you.
That is true. You're never wrong.
I'm never wrong. So, well, now that we're done complaining about Resident Evil, let's get drunk and play Deep Rock Galactic.
Yeah, let's go. What do they say? Rock and stone.
Yeah, rock and stone, cock and bone. Maybe we can go find some pants minerals.
Yeah, some pants minerals. Fashion crystal.
Yeah, some fancy fashion crystal.